Hey home bakers, it's Jack here, bakewithjack.co.uk, bringing you your first weekly bread making tip of 2019. Let's do it. Hey you guys, welcome back and happy new year. Whatever you did over Christmas time, I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you baked up a storm. I took a little break from here. If you're new, you won't know that. If you're not new, you will know that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and being here on the first bread tip of the year. This week I'm going to take a slightly different approach to the weekly bread tip. I hope that's okay because it's January. It's the first month of the year and I am well excited to do new things of the year. Classic me. I get well excited and pile on loads of extra things for the new year and then I don't really keep up with them all, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I want to harness that excitement of the new year. I don't want that feeling to disappear. I want to hold on to it all year round, baby. So if you're looking forward to making amazing bread in 2019, here's 3 things that I think might be useful in your learning journey. If you're a beginner, if you're just starting out, I think this is super useful stuff that nobody ever talks about. And if you're not just starting out, you're not a beginner, you might get something out of this video too. I feel like the 3rd point is the most important, but you know what? At the end of the video, I'm going to share with you a couple of hashtags you can use on Instagram to keep up, to help you. I think it's a cool idea to help you keep up with your bread making in 2019. The first thing I want to talk about that applies to making amazing bread, and actually anything you're trying to learn, is to lower your expectations. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Don't get caught up in the perfections of the imperfections of the bread that you made at home. It's gonna be imperfect because you made it. I had an email, in fact I get loads of emails like this. People send me emails, you guys send me emails of your lovely bread that you've made. You send me a picture and it looks wonderful. Somebody sent me an email the other day of a wonderful tinned loaf with a dome top that's a little bit just over golden on the top, which I absolutely love, by the way, and they said this tastes amazing, but is it how it should have come out? I'm not sure if that's how it's supposed to be. Let me answer that question. If it looks great and it tastes great, you win, despite what it's supposed to be like. Lower your expectations. If you're shooting for something on Instagram that some professional baker has made in his professional baker's oven, it's a little bit of a different story than when you're shooting for something that actually puffed up, looks okay and tastes nice. That scenario, you pretty much win every single time. The more you win, the more you'll try again and the more pleasure you'll get out of doing it in the first place and the more amazing bread you will eat. Some failures are not failures. I'm talking about the burst around the underside of a loaf that happens sometimes, or a big huge hole in the middle of your crumb that happens for some reason. Yes, these things can be tweaked and avoided, but that comes with time. Welcome the imperfections into your life with open arms because you made it. Lower your expectations. Shoot for something that you can eat. You'll get way more pleasure out of the learning process and probably keep it up for longer, eventually smashing your dreams to pieces of making that beautiful baguette with the perfect bust open on the top and crispy crust. Point number 2 I want to make is to be open to failure. Now, if you've already lowered your expectations, that failure window is way smaller than what it was before. But if you do anything that you consider to be a failure, if stuff goes weird or it doesn't go the same as what it did the time before, don't get down about it. Learn from it and move on, but make sure you do learn. And the best way to learn, which I've spoken about in a very old video that probably needs updating now, is to keep a bread making diary. It's about trial and error, but you need to have the error because that's where you truly learn from. You have to fail, and it's the same with everything in life. Let me tell you a story. About 5.5 years ago, some geezer called Jack thought it might be fun to teach people how to make bread, right? So he hired a venue. It was me, by the way. I hired a venue and got some people in and I taught them how to make bread, and things went really well for 2 years. Courses sold out for 2 years. Then what happened? I had to move out of the venue. The arrangement we had was no longer working. I had to move to another venue and put on different courses at a different time of day, and it was all very different and it bombed. Nobody came, actually. A few of you came. But in general, the whole thing was a failure. I spent a year of my life failing at doing bread making courses and I nearly gave up. The point I was trying to make is the first time around, everything organically went well. I did nothing and accidentally got the formula correct. So I didn't learn anything. At the point where everything started to fail, I learned, I tweaked, I changed things, and now more of you guys are coming to my classes than ever, so we're doing all right. I must have done something right. Let go of the worry of failure. Bread making shouldn't be a worry, it should be fun. It should be relaxing. A lot of people say it's the therapeutic, back to basics practice that we all need in this modern, busy, crazy world that we live in. A mindfulness practice, if you will. So please, don't worry about stuff like overproofed, underproofed, overbaked in the eyes of some TV show judge host. Just make. The third thing I want to talk about is to work with principles, not necessarily recipes. I discovered recently that I do everything on principle. I cook on principle, I make bread on principle. Everything is a principle, not a recipe. And I touched on it in a blog post I wrote around Christmas time about making canapes. Working with principles is what it's all about. Once you have the principle, you have the power, you have the freedom to do as you wish. And when I say principles, what I'm talking about is stuff like what the gluten does, why we need the dough, what the flour does, what part the yeast plays in it, how to treat the yeast to get the best out of it. All of these are principles to build your knowledge and your understanding. Recipes have their place, especially for beginners, but they're not the be all and end all. Like I always say, a recipe is just what somebody did once. It came out okay by their own expectations and they wrote it down and gave it to somebody else to do. I share principles in my weekly videos because with an education, you have the power to make the bread your own. It's not for everyone, I get it, but I believe a principle is way more powerful than any recipe alone. And that is it. First, lower your expectations. If it puffs up and you baked it, you win. Secondly, be open to failure. If anything goes badly wrong, learn from it. Don't get down in the dumps because that failed loaf of bread just made your next loaf of bread better. And thirdly, work on principles. Learn them. Watch my videos. Go take a bread making course. It doesn't have to be my own. Ask questions. That's where the real learning happens. Building that understanding and building that foundation. And then you can take bread making to whatever direction you want to. So there you have it. I know this is a little bit different to normal, but I wanted to begin the year with good intentions. And now I want to talk to you about the couple of hashtags you can use on Instagram to help you through your year of making bread. The first one is this, hashtag Bake with Jack. If you are posting a picture out on Instagram and use the hashtag Bake with Jack, I will see it. I will click on it and see it. Use the hashtag Bake with Jack. I'll pop in there every once in a while to see what's going on so I can see what you are making. It would be wicked. And the second hashtag I want to talk to you about, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I considered whether I should talk about it or not because it's a little bit rude and this is a family show. So I'm not going to tell you what it is here. I will put a censored version in the comments box underneath. But if you search up this hashtag on Instagram, it's quite amusing and it gives you quite a nice feeling inside because you'll see other people's mistakes they've made. And a lot of the time they're professional bakers who's made a mistake or dropped a loaf on the ground or left one at the back of the oven and it's burnt or something like this. It's quite nice to have a flick through other people's mistakes. Is that bad? And even if you have a mistake of your own, you can pop on there and it's just quite an amusing thing. Because everybody makes mistakes. It's just part of the deal. Everybody fails in some aspect of something along the way. And I thought it might be amusing. The censored version is underneath. Please forgive me. It's a little bit rude. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here on the first bread tip of the year. I'll be back here next Thursday with another one. If you like this video, please consider clicking that subscribe button or the thumbs up button or both, or where the real power is to share it out with your bread making pals if you liked it. If you didn't like it, click the thumbs down button and I will never do it again, I promise. See ya.